I'm back. It's hard to imagine where 10 days go, and I have watched 10 days rapidly fade away. But I wanted to give you kind of an update as to why I took that time off, because I think it's important to understand a couple of things. One is I had said that I needed to rest, rejuvenate, and refresh myself. And that's always important to do that. Labor Day weekend is a great time to do that. But when I came back and over that weekend, I saw a couple of things that had really alarmed me. And I want to share those things with you today and why that's alarming and what that's all about, because it will greatly impact you. I promise it really will. I know that's a little hard to believe, but there are things going on in the world today of which aren't making the news media, aren't everywhere else, and you need to be aware of them. This is not a political thing. This is something that's even bigger than that. So there's two things I want to share with you today. The first one is artificial intelligence generated articles. Over the weekend, we do this newsletter. I have this newsletter that's available for people who are in the internet marketing space. And what it is it's a collection of all the things that are going on, all the brand new stuff that's happening, not new products, but things that are happening in the space. The internet is a massive, massive empire, and there are things in it that we need to be aware of. And so I stay up on that. A team of people that's what they do, and they make this newsletter available. I'm part of that newsletter. And so I put that newsletter out, and it came out over the weekend. And in that newsletter, there was a statement about Google doing this. Google is now identifying articles, things that they find on the internet. They're identifying the difference between this is human intelligence and this is artificial intelligence. This is created by a human being and it sounds like a human being wrote it. And this is created by a machine and it sounds like a machine has written it. Now, right now, Google's going to give priority to the human writing, but the fact that they have to make that distinction is deeply alarming. Deeply alarming. Because here's what's happened, and I've warned about this, cautioned about this for a long, long time. 25 years ago, I taught a class. I wrote the curriculum for that class, and I taught this class, and I'll tell that story some other time. But in that, my biggest concern was that the purpose of technology is to eliminate work. It's to eliminate work. So along comes the internet, boom, all these people come into this internet marketing space. And the first thing that they want to do is they want to make money without work. See where we're going? That's pretty concerning, okay? Yeah, the newsletter is available. I actually have it in three formats. One is you can buy it direct. The other one is that you can buy it from the from me. I have a newsletter subscription platform that you can get that from. And the third place where you can get that, thank you for the question, by the way, Emery, is that it is also in my step-by-step program. I include the newsletter there. I include the newsletter and the recording, the audio of the interview. That is the bulk of that newsletter for that time. So that's available there. So back to artificial intelligence and where this is going. The purpose of technology is to eliminate work. So we have all these people who come into this internet space thinking that you can make money and not have to work. That's not true. You still have to work. You have to know something in order to do this. But we have all kinds of people who are selling you programs and selling you stuff saying, you don't have to do anything. It'll just do this. You click here, 2 minutes, you'll be done. And all of that kind of stuff that's going on. My concern is that what we're going to end up with, and so I went and read, somebody sent to me an article, an artificially intelligence generated article. And I read the article. The article was justifying artificial intelligence written by an artificially intelligence driven machine. It was pretty compelling. The purpose isn't to make life easier for you. The purpose is to eliminate you. To eliminate you. To completely eliminate you. That's the purpose. And it's frightening. It's frightening. And it comes from this, I don't want to have to do any work. I just want people to send me money. And when that's what you do, you're in a dangerous place. You're just in a dangerous place. And that leads to artificial intelligence generating articles. It leads to, you don't have to do anything, but pretty soon it's going to eliminate you completely. Now, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm not trying to go in a weird space. I'm not expecting robots to show up at my door tomorrow. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is simply the fact that there is a trend now to do the very thing that people have been asking for. Can't you just make this easier for me? Can't I just get this and it'll automatically rewrite the article and I'll have something that'll sound just like me? No, not yet. Not yet, but it's happening. And it's happening because we have allowed it to happen. That's the problem, is we've allowed that to happen. So now let's talk about the second thing, because I've been involved in a discussion forum about what distinguishes your business from everything else. And what that is, that's really bad English. I'm sorry. What distinguishes your business, what that is your brand. Okay, it's your brand. Your brand is what distinguishes your business from everybody else. And so in the process of this entire discussion about brand, we have somebody who says, well, if you can't use unique fonts, what's going to distinguish your business? Listen, people, if the only thing that distinguishes your business from somebody else's is the font that you use, you're out of business. Just so you know that, you're out of business. Had this discussion repeatedly going back years. I've been involved in branding a lot longer than most people will ever know. I was with an insurance company through 3 different brands of that insurance company. 3 different brands. They're now on their 4th one in 20 years. And that fourth brand was the thing that now let me explain to you the history. Okay, I was involved in this second one when it rolled out. I was involved in the second one when it rolled out, and I made some suggestions. Then I ended up at the table in the boardroom table for the discussions of number 3. The result was I ended up in the boardroom for the discussions number 3, and then became the brand ambassador. My responsibility was to roll that out to the public. So I know a little bit about branding. I know a little bit about the good and the bad and the ugly of branding. That's what I'm trying to say. Because they had this amazing thing that was going to happen with these different colored dots, and everybody was supposed to understand the dots. And if they didn't understand the dots, Eric, it was your job as the brand ambassador to make sure that everybody understood the dots, because the dots were communicating something subtly without communicating anything. And I thought, no, it doesn't. It does not. So today, the 4th permeation of the brand, number 4, still has the dots, no different colors on them. No discussion about the dots. No, that's distracting from the purpose of the brand. So my point is this: what distinguishes you? Apparently, Google now thinks that you'll be distinguished differently if you write human writing instead of machine writing. Who would have thought? On the same weekend that I find out that Google has this human intelligence tag that will be placed upon content that Google discovers on the internet versus a machine intelligence tag that'll be placed on it, we're headed in a weird direction. We're headed in a weird direction. And so I see that. Then I'm involved in this discussion about what distinguishes your business. And when I get that absorbed into something, what I do is I fall into that hole, and I find myself focusing all of my attention. And that's what I've done for the last 3 days, focusing all of my attention on what does distinguish you. What does make you distinctively different? Is it the fact that you write the articles? Or is it the fact that somebody else wrote it? I sent an article to somebody one day, and they said, Eric, you didn't write this. I said, no, I borrowed it from somebody who I have their permission to use it. And so I sent it to you. She said, because it doesn't sound like you. See, it's really important that things sound like you. It just is. And eventually Google's going to identify that differently if it's not you. So just keep those things in mind as we go down the road. I will be talking more later about the work that I've done for the last 5 days, having to do with what distinguishes your business and how does your brand enter into that, and how do you make your brand not a font and not a color, because those are the two goofiest reasons to have a brand, is so I can share my favorite color or so that I can share my favorite font. Mike has just said something. Mike is a friend, and he actually used to live in Huntsville, which I think is kind of cool. So let me check out Mike's article or Mike's comment here, because I think this is going to be important. He says, back in the 80s, I was working on MIT AI experts to bring natural language learning technology to the market. We were in the game too early, and now we have with people named Alexa and Siri. That's exactly right. Now, let me, because the first article I read about artificial intelligence goes back to just the very, very early 80s, might have been the very late 90s, but very late 80s or early 90s. It was in that time frame right there, not too far from where Mike's talking about. And one of the first attempts at taking English language, translating it, and the very simple process was just translation. So translating that English language from English into Russian, and then taking the Russian result and translating it back into English just to see how the entire process would go. So they took an English statement. This was the most entertaining. Jeremy, you might have even remembered me telling the story, but because it happened while you were a student. They took the English statement. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Statement from the Bible: the spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. Very conceptual, not something that is very concrete, but very conceptual. They translated it from English into Russian, from Russian back into English. From the Russian back into English statement said this: the meat's spoiled, but the vodka's good. I thought it was very entertaining too, by the way. So Mike, thank you for that little introduction to the past, because it allowed me to tell that goofy story that I still remember to this day. The content, and Don's nailed it right on the nose. You do remember the story? Great, Jeremy. Jeremy's my validation today. Don said this: content and your voice is a big part of your brand. You better believe it is. It is your brand, because your brand is how you solve other people's problems at a profit. It's not the color of your background. It's not the typeface of your font. It's how you solve problems. That's what people want to know. And I see people who make decisions based upon, is this font available? That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Don't want to go too far down that road, but it's important to understand that you are still the most important part of the equation. That's the point that I'm trying to make today. And it's very, very obvious that there's a move to change where we're going and move it away from you. Don't want to move it away from you. You are still the most important part of the equation. And if you want a shortcut, they don't exist. What will end up happening is, if there's a shortcut, then they can just simply write you out of the equation. Make sure that your voice is obvious. Okay. Thank you for joining me today. I apologize. I've been a little long. It's been a while since I've been on, so I thought I needed to take just a little bit of time to explain those two things, because they're so closely connected. Thank you for joining me today. I love you. I'll talk to you soon.